showed you my CV, maybe curriculum vitae, maybe you looked at it, or you didn't, but maybe you could check it out later, or right before you watch this one. What it was all about, or I had been asked about, or some people say they liked it, they would like to know more, they would like to know, or you would like to know more and understand better, or maybe even get some assistance and somehow boost your own betting career. Okay, so now why I'm doing this is I'm introduced myself, so you may trust this a bit more what I'm doing and what I have been doing for over 30 years now with the professional gambling. And so all those branches I went through in my life, um, they fitting quite well together in this professional football betting. Although I've done some ice hockey, some tennis, I made a program for not blackjack, I made some blackjack too, but I was trying to say basketball. But I'm not really using these anymore. The algorithms are fine, but I'm not into the sports. You can't do everything. Um, anyway, this there is a lot. So this is always what is the problem? Would you like to have shorter videos or longer ones? So with lots of contents, or just yeah, a bit shorter. And how much would you really like to mm, um, how much about the formulas, the mathematical approach, all this stuff. So, but on the other hand, if you just would say, well, tell me who's gonna win, I mean, this just doesn't work, right? It's I don't know either. So this is the whole concept. This is one of probabilities. So if any of the experts, I used to say, um, or anyone is asked, what do you think? And people also ask me, what do you think? What is going to happen? Then the only and the perfect answer is there's a probability for that, there's a probability for that, there's a probability for that to happen. And I can try to measure these probabilities, to evaluate, to calculate, and that's all. So I knew it the least. I knew it, I know it the least. So if people ask me sometimes, what do you think? And then I can only say, there are probabilities. When they say, as Bayern played Liverpool, also, they might say 50-50. I don't know. Bayern went out, so but this is of course the only answer you could get. So who's going through? 50-50, 60-40. I don't know. So these are the answer, and so not this is going to happen. As soon as you have the betting market in comparison, the prices there, the evaluation there, you can say, well, I like this price. This price is too high. This one is too low. I'm going to go for this. And still, it doesn't mean at all that you think it is going to happen. All you say then is, I think the probability for this to happen is in a good relationship to the price I'm getting. And as soon as you worked out a bet like that, you're actually obliged in this business to go for it. And I mean, there are many such things. So this is mathematics, this is all this stuff, and this is some basic understanding. I was trying to provide this in a couple of other videos. Of course, I'm getting back to that. I'm mentioning it again and again. Also, and when there's a formula or a thing you might need, or the one thing is you could do it yourself. The other thing is you may, after hearing it, you may trust this a bit more when you say, well, how did you do that? Well, I'm using this or that approach, algorithm, this formula, or whatever. Ah, that makes sense. Yeah, it does make some sense, I think. I'm sure, and I can prove that. But on the other hand, yeah, can you do it yourself? Maybe you can. As I'm saying, once again, for every parameter, characteristic, anything I calculate, and when two sides meet, can be in any sports, it can be on any characteristic. I can take the corners, I can take the possession, I can take the goals. It is always the same algorithm underlying there, and maybe that's one of my secrets, but I'm going to share my secrets with you, and I'm ready to listen to your advices, what you think, what you could do with it. So watch this video and tell me later, or leave a comment, or I also gave you other chances to get in touch. Um, but what one could do with it, what you think about it, there's the possibility, of course, to have it exclusively, maybe for someone who thinks, okay, gonna boost my career. I don't know. I want to make some money, so I'm ready to buy this guy more or less, or buy his figures, or whatever it is. Or yeah, he wants it all for himself, or he says, well, I would be ready in a community, I would pay this or that, and just share this knowledge with others. I don't know. So any proposal, any suggestion you have, just tell me. Leave your comment. This may sound a bit different to what I used to say before, but things are changing in life anyway, all the time. And also, you know, I'm 60 years old now, and then somehow you think, well, maybe not change the business. I can't do much otherwise, but there are other things that could be interesting around this. Anyway, this formula I'm using, and this is one of these secrets, and I explained this somewhere before, but this is always team A positive, this characteristic, times team B, how much they concede, divided by the average. So this is a formula. I mean, yeah, now we got Excel. Of course, I showed this somewhere, and I can show you easily once again in any. You see how many of these tables and stuff I'm using. But if we have one new, and I can instantly zoom this one. So, I mean, you take it corners or whatever you want, and you got team A, and you got team B, right? And you can say, well, for, against, for either one, for, against, and then you say, well, they got an average of 5.38, I don't know, and they concede per game 4.81, no idea. They are a better side, they got 7.22, and against just 3.96. And there are other teams in this league, and the corner average in this league is 6.55. I don't know if this, I should say this is half the average. But if you want to know now how many corners team A are going to have in a game against team B, and then we take the other one, and you would say, well, this is how many do they get, okay, times how many do the others concede, divided by the average. And then you see, well, this looks a bit silly, does it? Now I'm praising my algorithms and it's not working properly. Why is it not working? Oh yeah, they are below average here. Okay, maybe I should lower the average. They are below average. They also concede less than average. So this is even going down from 3.96 down to 3.25. So it is perfectly working well, but maybe the values are not quite perfect here, because this is just 5 something, and it would be 11, 5.5, so 6.5 is not a proper average, maybe. I mean, say it corners, it could be anything, shots on shots on target or whatever it is, and then it would be 3.9 already, which is then in this range, as they are in the range of the average, although they are still a bit behind. And if you want to know if team B going to have against team A, then you would have, of course, how many do they get, how many do the others concede, and divide by the average. And it's the same thing. And I got 6.37, because this is below average. This is, of course, better than average, but this figure is below average. So I take this away from them, so to say, in a percentage, 4.81 divided by 5.45. So this is reduced to that. So then you would have team A expect 3.9, whatever it is. The other one 6.37, and this is the whole basis. And I can do that for any value. And this algorithm just works perfectly well. After you calculated the expectancies in this sense, in this way, then you still have values for the game. And I mean the real values that occur. So maybe you expected 6.3, they have 8 instead. So then you have to adjust your parameters, because, well, if they had more, maybe you had been wrong, but there's no way you could reduce their value. You have to upgrade it. You raise their expectancy and lower the other ones, or raise their against value. And you can do that with every parameter, and it's always working the same way. And so what I actually wanted to do was once again, so to say, show you one whole match day, and okay. I show you the German Bundesliga preview. Okay, and we got I got one general preview, and then I got one explicitly for every single game. And and maybe well, yeah, there had been other videos also looking at that, but now we go through this match day 30 of the season 2018-2019. So we're close to the finishing line. It's not that exciting, because Stuttgart are 6 points behind. There is this relegation still open here, and maybe some Champions League stuff going on. Gladbach pushing there, maybe also Hoffenheim, Werder getting to Europe, or Leverkusen or Wolfsburg possibly. But in all areas, it's not that exciting. Maybe title, you could say, but as Bayern took over now, of course you can stay. There's still a good chance for Dortmund to clinch the title. If you see other rankings, you might say, well, it doesn't make this much sense. I mean, Bayern are too good. But probabilities, I've done that too. But I'm not going to show you here. But there is a simulation I could run to work out how likely it is for Bayern to win the title, or Dortmund. No one else in contention, I guess. In this ranking here, maybe you can't read it so well. Even if I zoom it, it's not gonna look a lot better. I'm afraid. Oh yeah, it does. Okay, it does look a bit better. Here you see that Bayern are by far this is how well they played. This is, with my algorithms, worked out the goals they should have scored and they should have conceded. They scored even some more than they should have. So recently they just found the net. This is, every parameter is undergoing these updates and so on. So during the season, they had been a bit low, of course, and then it gets adjusted again. But I think I'm pretty close. But even they scored some more. But you also noticed, everyone may have, that they just scored plenty of goals recently. They conceded a few too many, which was still, blame it on the early parts of the season when they had many easy goals, when they were a bit too far up the pitch sometimes, and so they didn't defend so well in this time. But still, it's just 5.76 goals and so on. And here is, in some sense, the luck ratio, if you want. So they are still a bit behind. So they are altogether still a bit unlucky. They scored a bit more. They conceded even some more than they. So the difference between these two. They scored 2.15 too many. They conceded 5.76 too many. So the difference between these two is 3.61. So they are a bit unlucky. Still, but of course they are top of the table, so they wouldn't mind so much. And recently it's gone well. And Leipzig are lucky in the sense that they scored more than they should and conceded less. But you can always say, as soon as it's top sides, their parameters get adjusted in the sense that the values are, they are regularly downgraded. Or upgraded in the sense of converting their chances and so on. But they could achieve this top team status, so I'm going to carry this forward. Leipzig are not yet in a position to do so, but another such season, or they had the second now maybe, the last one was not so good. This is why, so I could make them kind of this top team status. So if teams at the top have this positive luck ratio, in some sense you could say, well, this is because they are really so good. So this has not really been luck. But you could also argue the other way around. Maybe the others could have scored some more, they scored some too many, and so on. Also Dortmund concerned by that. And they are still a bit lucky, and everyone would say so. So but they started off so brightly and scored all the goals and so on, and just couldn't be stopped. But this was still somewhat lucky, I would consider. But they conceded as many as they should, more or less now. So it is, if it's green. I mean, usually these teams up here are a bit green because they are upper half, so it's a lot more likely that they are going to be good in that sense, that they are a bit lucky. It's it's a lot more to explain about that, but Leverkusen are the side, and everyone would accept that somehow, that they had been unlucky. They did play some good football, and they shouldn't be in 8th place. Here it would say they should be in 6th place, which would be a lot better, but it's still possible. But those 18 goals, this is what is missing here. But they can take over and so on. But this is what counts here. So in respect to the goals, they are more unlucky, most likely. Anyway, you can pick out any side. It's been Augsburg unlucky, also Mainz, even Hertha now still a bit lucky, although they dropped down the table with 5 losses and so on, but they didn't play so well. Freiburg a bit lucky, but they are of course very happy with what they got and so on. And you shouldn't just argue about this. This is the ranking they played at. So Leipzig played even a lot better than Dortmund, 6 goals better, and are still behind. But maybe it's not impossible for them to catch them. But this is not what they would talk about. They would dream of getting to the Champions League, which is very likely now. But many such things you could argue about or discuss. Did Frankfurt play better than them, and so on. But this is at least the ranking, and down here you see that the bottom three are really bottom, and so the table is also pretty well sorted in that sense, and which doesn't say a lot. But if you are, or we are all trying, or the professionals would try to find something, well, where you could beat the market, then this ranking might be very helpful. But if it's too well going along with the table, then well, there are no good bets. Market gets it right, you got it right. There's no deeper aspects. This Dortmund aspect has been one that should have earned anyone some money who noticed, and I was the one, of course, because it was from the start, that they were no good when they were top of the table. I'm not saying they are no good, of course, but as I say, they just got far too much, and so you could somehow predict they are going down the table, which is just by one place now, but they had so many wins and stuff, and even recently they played a bit better. We got some goal average. I got two approaches. I could talk a lot more about that. We got some statistic stuff here as well. 2.915 goals were the ones expected. 3.12 the ones that occurred, which is actually last season average. I have this down here. Was 2.79. So I couldn't foresee this to happen. But by the updates, this average went up and up and up because there were always too many goals. But I still wouldn't expect now to have 3.12 goals, which is way off last season's mark. And this is the way the computer upgrades. The home advantage or updates the parameters, and I think this is actually the one that has been expected so far. There are other rankings in which you could look up how many I would expect right now, because it's going up and up and up. So my expectancies are also going up, but the early match days are not deleted. They had been 2.79, first one, the second one. There had been more, so this is going into the average. Home advantage is very fine here because it does exist. Home teams are winning more games. There are 117 wins. I had expected 118.75. Draws are perfect, almost perfect. Away wins are fine, 83 instead of 81.64. So it's going pretty regular in that sense too, which is not such good news because we would like to, well, find some bets and get some confusion into market by some strange results. But this is my old system. I got two different algorithms and so on, and here you could say, well, the new system that is more based on the stats. I was explaining that I can't get it all into this one video, but here I expected 2.98 goals. Here I expected 2.91. So the new system did cope a bit better with the goals coming. The goals should are 3.04. This is a value the other system does not have, because this is based on the stats, which I'm not entering the old system. But you see here that I expected 2.98 so far, starting with a lower value as well, and 3.04 are the ones that should have been. So they did create some more chances, but even some more goals. And home sides expected 1.69, should 1.72. They scored 1.75. I mean, I do not have the time now, really. And also away sides scored a few too many, so they both home and away sharing the damage, you could say. I'm not talking about the bet record now, because it would be because it's not really a bet record. It's rather, well, I'm keeping track of all the indications and try to record this, but that would be here. I got this stored ranking, which is it's taking in the updates and so on. So this is what the actual calculations are based upon. So here you can check if you like it. And even Hoffenheim are ahead of Dortmund now. This is a couple of worse performances. This Mainz game was terrible. Also Bayern game brought them down, while Hoffenheim had been winning their games and played very well. So they took over. Even Hoffenheim took over. And Leipzig are way off. I mean, they had such excellent. They played such excellent football recently, while Dortmund were just mediocre. And yeah, so they are clearly ahead. Bayern. This is the quotient, I say, from between the goals scored and conceded. So this is what it's sorted by. But you see, this is the value at least. As soon as you reach 2.0, you can say this is really, really top class. If there's still Bayern, but in other leagues, yeah, well, 2.0 is just something to remember. It's great. And they are close to that. If you look at the goal difference, 55 divided by 22, that's even 2.5, right? Exactly 2.5. So they played even better than 1.9. And Hoffenheim and then Dortmund and still Leverkusen ahead of Frankfurt. Some better efforts, but worse results. Here's a different measurement of the luck ratio, I call it. And so here you see as well that just Leverkusen are a bit unlucky, which is also true. So they could even be, yeah, well, they are not attacking Dortmund really, but somewhere close. And so on. So, but I think, well, one could well agree. Werder are even close to Gladbach now. They played recently 1-1, but maybe Gladbach were a bit closer there. But of course, Gladbach still have plenty of points. How many points do they have more? It's 5 points, yeah, okay. But yeah, just 2 goals. So anyway, they are close in this and in that. So it makes a lot of sense. But then there's a huge gap to Wolfsburg, who are just an average side. I mean, 0.95. Mainz are close here with some good efforts. Also, the loss in Dortmund was a very good game. Düsseldorf here, very good. Hertha, after 5 losses, they dropped down. Freiburg, very good, reliable. Augsburg, no more good, but still a lot better than Schalke, who simply didn't perform. Stuttgart, also very weak, but even on the level of Schalke almost, because Schalke are so terrible. And these two, this is out of contention. I mean, below 0.6, this is just not good enough. I mean, 0.6 is terrible. 0.66, you can say, this is where you start to be in the competition. And this is, we can have a look later at the Bundesliga 2, where they are all around that. I got this home-away relation. And here you can see who performed better where. And this ranking is ordered by this. So you see the best home side are Nuremberg, best away side are Schalke, who are still terrible, but at least they are not so terrible on the road, and so on. And anyway, this is going into the, but it's sometimes helpful, and you also check this when, yeah, you would support, you might tend to support maybe Freiburg at home a bit more. Usually market knows about that, but sometimes it doesn't so well, so sometimes you can. And here we got the predicted match stats. I'm not going into these a lot deeper. Here you got the proposals. I might get through those when we look at the single matches. But first of all, I mean, yeah. So I couldn't say there's a lot that that we got now for where you really look forward to. Now I'm gonna support this team. I'm going to go against this team. Maybe it's also a bit too late in the season, but it's also somehow it's too regular. I mean, these two sides, they also, yeah, it's just boring table more or less, right? You can say, well, it's some excitement here, but more or less everyone knows that Wolfsburg are not that good, Leverkusen are good, that are very okay, Hoffenheim fine. I mean, there's no potential for market going wrong, right? There's not this much to find there. We can have a look at the single games, but I really well. Okay, let's take this order here, and okay. When I get such a matchup here, this is, well, I'm not going to talk about that. We simply the distance and when the kickoff will be. That's the last one, obviously, but I take it first. Doesn't matter. it is Eintracht Frankfurt indicated, although the old system simply says it is an even game, because there's, here you see the expectancies for this game by the old algorithm, the new algorithm. I'm allowed to make adjustments to that, but I'm not going to explain that here. There are an even game, while the new system, which I never, it's incorruptible. I never change any of those figures or settings. It just runs through the season. It simply would say Frankfurt are the favorites, which I would very well accept if they weren't their Thursday game, which is today actually, 18th of April. They play with Benfica. 3 days between that. They may go out. They may get promote against Benfica. But at least it will be, well, it's some energy invested, some focus on that. But I can't even predict what a win or a loss would mean, because either one could mean, well, no, they got focused on the Bundesliga, or they are frustrated or disappointed, whatever it is. So I would still think, as market makes this one small error in this game, because they say they lost to Augsburg 1-3. They lost a player, which was not considered to be really a red card. The player deserved. But it was also that they played even with 10 men, even with the man down, they were the much better side. And so it's still, if the result is 1-3, market simply says, okay, they are in Europe, can't play anymore in the Bundesliga, which was not at all the case. So market got that wrong. And I think also that Wolfsburg, they are running out of steam. They are no good anymore. So my impression is Frankfurt are sharp. And also in the Bundesliga. And even this 1-3 loss, this didn't tell a different story to me. I didn't go through the injuries here, but there you could argue that, but those, most of the players had been out already. I have to check that later. We can look at this here, where I take down the expectancies, efforts, and results. And this is, the red one are the efforts by Wolfsburg. And they started off brightly at somewhere in the season, at plus 0.5. You could say this is an average difference per game. And they went down into the negative zone, which is now on minus 0.12, you see here. So they are not really in good shape. I mean, well, this is a trend, but it went over a couple of weeks already, right? So, I mean, months already. But they are just below average, and the blue one indicates where I expected them to be. And if you have bigger swings here, it just means there's not such a thing as average. They get a strong opponent, a weaker one, so it's flicking around a bit, meaningless. But later on you can say, well, the blue one, it had been below the red one, so I was wrong to this end. But at some point it turned out I was still right about them. So they are just the mediocre or a bit below average side. That's all that you can say here. You can read here, I was pretty right. The results are still better, but they also went down a bit. But yeah, well, from here. But not that meaningful. But on the other hand, it is obvious the efforts are on the level they should be, or even a bit below. While Frankfurt's efforts came from here and went all the way up, and always, yeah, it gets harder to beat the average here, or to get a rising curve. But they are better than expected, they are better than average, they are good. The results are even better, although there has been this 1-3 slip here against Augsburg, but still they are very good. And if I see a team play better than I expected them to play, I mean, this is also going up a bit, because all their good efforts mean, okay, I'm going to rise there too, because they play well. But if they always play better than expected and always play well, I sometimes say, well, then the good results may not even be luck. I mean, you saw all those strikers. So Frankfurt, they are just a good side. They are clearly better side. All we could argue about is this Thursday game. So I'm through with this one. and I'm going to Schalke against Hoffenheim. So we got a proposal there, go with Frankfurt, or leave it for this mentioned stuff. Here we got Hoffenheim against Schalke, distance, meaningless, kickoff time, and so on. The Asian line, if you want to bet anything. I mean, here on the goal lines, I didn't show that, but here I got also those graphs about the goal average development, also on this game, where you can spot certain things. I'm not going to explain this here, maybe, because there is no indication on the goal lines, so no bet possible there. And I would hardly argue against that. Here we got indication Hoffenheim on this price, 1.93, because the old system says true price is 1.80. We got this probability concept. As soon as you have a probability for something to happen, you got a true price because it's just a reciprocal, and as soon as the market price is bigger than the true price, you got a fair chance to make some money with it. It is a tough margin. I mean, so if market says 1.93, there's also a lot of reason that this may be the right price. I can still argue against it. You can look at the injuries. There had been a few players more missing for Schalke, especially, but there was trouble all around the squad, so one shouldn't look so closely. Here you see the efforts, the red one for Schalke. They went down, or they never reached a decent level, especially not the level expected, although this was even a bit above average. You can say here, I still thought, well, Vizemeister, vice champions, they may have some potential, although I was pretty sure they had also not been so good last season. But this went down and down and down, also the expectancies with the efforts, with the bad efforts, but they are still way below expectancies. And minus 0.4, that's maybe the average difference they should lose a game by. I mean, they score one goal, opponent 1.4 or 1.2, and the other ones 1.6, so they are more or less, well, not behind in every game, but this is the average what it comes to, minus 0.4, which is just terribly low, as it is especially very far beyond they wanted to be, or the expectancies. And of course, if I say I expected them even now slightly below average, no one from the Schalke supporter would say, well, of course we would have been happy if they were average. It's trying to be a very fair assessment, not what the supporters think, although this sometimes goes hand in hand. Here I can say Hoffenheim are also rated quite well. This is 0.34. You see here, so this is a very good level, the level expected. Results are even better now, so they made something, while they had been going down a bit here with all those draws, 6-7 draws I think they had in a row. I can look that up, but I'm not going to do that now. But now they had some wins, so this is fine. 0.35, very good. I was right about them. And so there's quite a gap between these two of, let's say, 0.75 goals. You subtract the home advantage from that, and you still got an edge of 0. Well, it says here 0.78. This is also for the home ranking, so I could possibly show this once again. Where is this? This makes it a bit easier here, maybe. Let's have a look at the home ranking, because I can verify my bets, maybe in some sense. Yeah, this is what it was. Schalke are the worst home side, while Hoffenheim are average, but even a bit more on the away side, as soon as this is minus. So this is the main reason for this huge gap there between market. But we could also check the records, of course, of these two teams. My database. I shouldn't have done that, but it's the way things go. I'm gonna check that quickly. And Schalke have a home record of 3-5-7. So even average sides, almost, well, half of them won. And Hoffenheim are better than average. And their away record, oh sorry, Schalke at home 4-1-9, I'm sorry. This is their home record. So 9 away wins for in Schalke's camp. This is an average of 1.55 price. And now we get 1.93 for a win. The average side made a price of 1.55, so to say. Because 14 divided by 9 is 1.55. Or 1.56, you should say. And Hoffenheim won 5 of their 14 away games. So if you take 5 of 14 and 9 of 14, then you would have 14 of 28. So then it would just be 2.0, so to say, by this very simple calculation. So market would be right. But as I said, it is a bit different, of course, because Schalke are not a good side, they are a better side. So this very, very naive fallacy doesn't quite work. But anyway, this is also a matter of shape and so on, but it's also home and away and all this stuff. So we are through with this one. Let's check another one. And as I found the system now, I'm going through it like this, in this order. In Augsburg, Stuttgart, I should say, okay, the new system would pretty much like Augsburg. But I can say I know such games. And Augsburg, I didn't like this at all. They sacked their coach. They made all these silly errors. I can't stand that. Although they had been playing quite well. But the away win in Frankfurt was even a present, a gift. I mean, they were lucky, I say, although they may have looked okay to their standards. But I didn't like this. And the coach sacking, I do not like at all. And I also would say I know such kind of games. And this is simply not the right value. It is Stuttgart, maybe worse. It is also, it's not a real derby, but it is close enough, and there are, yeah, some tradition in that, and Stuttgart a bit more, and so on. And so I wouldn't like it to trust this new system. New system would insist more or less you gotta go with Augsburg, but I do not like this right now. So I can maybe accept that. And here we would also be able to witness that they had been very good, way above and even average and so on. But it went down slowly but surely, and down to this value here, minus 0.16, you can see that. But it's still better than expected because, well, you should have said they are bottom half side and so on. It's still better, but it's approaching this, and I do not like this. The whole approach. Of course, the results also went down. They are no good. If you look at Stuttgart, although terrible results and also terrible low ranking, because I'm proud of this, because I set them as low as they are, and market said Europe or something like that, but I didn't accept that at all. So I was pretty right with that, but still I'm just right. It is minus 0.5 and not minus 1.2. The terrible goal difference they got. They would still be, the much better side would be Augsburg like that, but you could say, well, with a recent, it's not that they improved here, but they somehow played their level. Also on the goal lines, there's no real indication. I could explain a bit more about this, but maybe not for this game. So we are through with this. We would have an Augsburg indication, but it's not a real one. I wouldn't go for it. Here it's Werder Bremen and under. So we get to, yeah, but this is just silly stuff. I mean, we all saw that now. Bayern can score all the goals with ease. They are toying around with their opposition, you can say, more or less. Although they drew just 1-1 in Freiburg, but they were still the far, far better side. And so on. And market may have this right. It is the matter of the approach. But this is, one thing is the matter of figures, and the other one, well, of reason. But market can only exaggerate with this line on Bayern, because, well, people see them win 14 out of 15, or then I don't know how many they got, or 14 out of 16, or even more. I don't know. And score all those goals and also play well, then yeah, it's getting, they are getting too much support. So the opposition, you can have them. Okay, I'm gonna take them. What else can I do? I mean, there gotta be a line, but the problem here is always when you got those massive lines, they do not care for your money, right? So be aware. When they are 2 goals down, you can say, well, would you please defend, please? I'd still win half of the bet. Because 2.25, you still win half the money when they lose by 2. But they wouldn't do so. They don't care for your money, right? So they go forward. They concede another one, you lose the under as well, 4-1. Everything's gone. This can happen. And so it's not a people do not go for that, and that's why you get this price. If you want to, you can do it. It's really, really tough to make money with that. Why is it so? Because they do not care, or they are toying around. I mean, it's hard to argue, really. If it were pure mathematics, but what we saw, of course, from Werder, they were really good. But we're going into philosophy already. I can talk about this goal performance, which I haven't mentioned yet, but there's plus 10.27, so there had been clearly too many goals. This is largely, I'm taking the two together, so maybe it's also Werder, but it's more Bayern that scored too many goals, but this is also scoring and conceding. So it's just the total goals, those two scored and conceded in the last games. This is 61 instead of 50.72 expected. So this is an over indication. Here I always have these three values which go together quite well. 3.57 says the old system, 3.52 goals says the new system, and the naive fallacy, which goes this, take all the goals into one basket divided by the number of games they played. All the goals scored and conceded from all the teams and divided by the number of games. So we got something between 3.57 and 3.44 goals. So where is the error? Spot the error. Line is 3.75. There's no indication for that to be 3.75 goals. But market simply says, and maybe rightly so, they can do whatever they like, right? And they are toying with your money. Let's not argue about this too much. Bayern are playing their level. They also approach this level by results. So all the results brought them up here. Although you can still see this 1-1 here, setting them back a bit. But they are approaching this level, whereby this blue one even is going down a bit because they had always been slightly behind. But plus 1.8, or what is it, plus 1.7 per game. This is still massive, massive, massive. This is unleveled. And plus 1.7 also means we can toy around with you somehow. So you rather skip this one maybe. But Werder are good. They played their level. They played a lot better. I'm saying plus 0.2 even, although, yeah, that improved here with all those good efforts. It went up and up and up. And also the results are going. So nothing to worry about with Werder. They are just a good side. But plus 0.2 is, as we saw, maybe 7th place in this whole ranking. Here we can say Bayern got the goals. This red and blue, once again, this gray one are the goals scored, but they played the high level expected, but 3.5 that is, or 3. We can see it here, 3.42. Anyway, and Werder also played their level. This is red, yellow and red one are on one level. This is this league average, sorry, but the expected level is a bit below. They played on league average, more or less. But this doesn't mean that would not answer the question, are the figures fine? I mean, it would say, yes, they are. It would not contradict to that. It's everything fine. Now we get through this game. Now we can pick this one, right? Freiburg against Dortmund. Here's the next indication, and this is a very obvious one here. You could say, well, once again, market going wrong with Dortmund somehow, whereby, well, we could simply argue Freiburg are not in urgent need anymore. 32 points, 11 points to Stuttgart, so they wouldn't worry right now. This is a bonus game for them, but usually they are very sharp at home. No one's gonna give an inch away. They even love it to attack these big ones, which could also then mean, okay, they can score a goal here or there. But here's the old one would say under, but this I wouldn't support at all. But this is massive, a massive edge here on this side. So this is just a silly line. Maybe market saying Freiburg do not care. Dortmund want the title, want to catch Bayern. They are playing their level. Everything is very regular here. They are just good as I expected, getting the results and so on. So it's just going well, whatever it is. It's minus 0.37 or something like that. So it's still a low side, but it is okay, better than Schalke or Stuttgart, also the likes. While actually Dortmund never reached the decent level I expected, whereby this level is nowhere near Bayern and maybe plus 0.5, something like that. You see that here, 0.53 or something like that. That would be fine. They did come a bit closer even, but they never even reached that. And while results, well, yeah, you see that they went down all the time, a bit, slightly, but still on +1 or even a bit more, plus 1.1. So this means, if they measure them by results, the market may be right. Still, the +1 line would be too heavy, but I would measure them by efforts, which have not been that good. So we got one on Freiburg, more or less. Now, and you will blame me on Monday or Tuesday and say, well, oh, this is rubbish what you're doing. We got no real indication here on the side in Gladbach against Leipzig, just an indication on the under. Of course, I can argue a pro under. The minus 1.696 says, okay, in all the games they played, it's a small under tendency in the last 8 games. Also, the naive fallacy, the old algorithm, naive fallacy would say a bit more. But this is, Leipzig are still a defensive side. They are good in defending. We can check the total goals here, just for example, and then we see that is 77 goals in 29 games. So this is 58 and 19. So this is 2.65, something like that. So this is clearly below league average. It is low, also lower than last season's. And if you look at, although there had been some goals here recently, but there's 2-0, another under. There had been 2 overs against Leverkusen. They all said this is going to be an over. It was an over. They crushed Hertha. But before that, 1-0, 0-0, 1-0, 1-1, 3-1, so on. And also Gladbach played 2 unders in a row or 4 under in the last 5 games. And Hacking leaving, and maybe they never found their shape back. So I can easily confirm this under, also goal performance, everything going along. Also the graphs would surely not contradict if we check these. This is even more of an under, because both lines are below average. Average is yellow, so all the lines are below average, and here they are even more so. So it is an under, that's it. And we are going to lose it, I guess, but it still is an under. I don't know, but in Hertha Hannover, it's not really a good, interesting match. I would just skip it. It's just Hertha lost 5 games in a row. Hannover are out of contention. It's nothing to really a new one. They all even agree on the goal line. So I'm quite happy that no indication. There's no indication. Market got that right. -1. Both out of shape. Both really, I don't know. It's just dismal. I'm not gonna check even those graphs, so we are through with this one. Then we got Leverkusen-Nürnberg. Also no indication, so we may be through a bit quicker. Indication is always, yeah, I got other files to show you. I'm not showing these, or I can't do everything in one video. But line minus 1.5, anyway, not such an interesting one. It's not even indicated. Nuremberg had been doing okay. They could or should have won one of the last two. Both were 1-1, Stuttgart and Schalke. And maybe then it would be a lot more exciting. They still have their dreams, which is pretty okay to do so. Leverkusen are a lot better than their results. We saw that, well, not a lot, they are better, but they might even climb the table. We can hardly argue a lot more. Here I could just say that those three values are a bit more further apart. And this means, of course, we can't do a lot. It's either 3.19 goals or 3.49 or 3.05 by naive fallacy. All goals in one basket. But we could say that the new system usually should be the best one. So that would say over. And then if you trust that, you would have an over in this one. And you can well imagine that, can you? I mean, whenever Leverkusen play, right? But 3.25 is a heavy line. Mainz against Düsseldorf. Once again, no indication. As I said, it's not such an exciting match days. The 2 or 3, I mean, Werder and so on, we do not want them really. And Augsburg or whatever, I mean, I'm not even proposing them. But it's not, yeah, there's no real excitement around now. And there's no indication, Market got that one right. I mean, they are also, all those three figures are close, and no indication, but this plus 11.38 would say over. There is a small over tendency, I would accept that. There had been plenty of goals, we can check that here as well. With the Düsseldorf especially, they scored lots of goals here. You can see 1-4 loss, 2-1 win, 3-1, 5-2 loss, 0-3, 4-0 win, 2-1. Well, virtually every game and over, at least on this line, 2.75 goals. And here I would say that's the same, 4 overs in a row. But that's why this is so heavy. But market, yeah, not getting it, yeah, well, you can dream of an over. And it makes some sense as they are both pretty safe in the table. That's 37, 33, no worries at all. So you can think about an over or do it live or whatever you like. And then we got one more, Schalke Hoffenheim. We did have that one already. We did have Wolfsburg Frankfurt. So we are through with this match day. So I'm quite pleased because I'm afraid it's getting too long. So hope you're taking from that, and maybe you remember what I said earlier on. Leave your likes, comments, share it, subscribe to my channel. Thanks a lot.